Derek, as you were saying, I had lots of visual stuff. And I also hear this from students that they have quite visual early meditations. I never have visual ones now, but lots of really bright colours and really vivid scenes. Like at that time I was writing my novel that I mentioned earlier that was set in Siberia, and I was in this snow-capped landscape just kind of looking around. And, you know, not that I'd go, oh, I wonder where I'd like to be or anything like that. That was just something that spontaneously came. So lots of these visual experiences. I've also had my only, in that 4 sessions, had my only experience of a big Kundalini energy release where I had this kind of surge of energy start somewhere in my body and fly up through my body and kind of out my neck, which my teacher described as, that's Kundalini release. We talk about stress release as kind of thinking about that email that you forgot to send. But this was much more visceral, like there's some energy in here. It's like a tennis ball of energy, and I felt it as a heat, and it kind of flew up. Never had it since, but it was really interesting that was in that 4 sessions. And then also quite early in my meditation career, I used to get these awesome feeling experiences. So like Derek said, my meditations now are kind of fairly unremarkable day to day, and it'll either be shallow or I'll transcend and not know anything about it. But during those early phases, I had much more of what I guess is like a Ritam experience on the cusp, where I would feel that I was moving into this unbounded area. And for me, it felt like, if any of you watched the old Star Trek TV show where they would be in the transporter room and they would kind of fizz out when they went down to the planet. And it would, in my diary, that's how I describe it, I kind of would fizz out, and I'd be like, oh, I'm 80% there, 70% there, 60% there. And it would be such an amazing feeling to be mid-fizz. And I guess when I allowed it to go, I would transcend, but I would often get too excited about it. I'd be like, oh, this is amazing. So I would, and as you were also saying, Derek, I would often then want to chase that experience. So then it becomes not effortless. I'm holding an expectation that there's an experience I'd like to have, but it just used to feel amazing, kind of a euphoric thing. If I kind of managed to stay on that cusp, it would feel really euphoric. And then as a teacher, my wildest experience was I was teaching this guy one-on-one session 1. So I'd given him his mantra, we'd done the puja, and we sat down for the longer meditation, the 15-minute meditation. And maybe about 6 or 7 minutes in, because I'll open my eyes briefly to have a little look, make sure he's not leaning his head back or anything like that. And he stood up, bolt upright, and kind of looking really surprised. And I kind of shut my eyes, pretended I didn't see him, and pretended nothing had happened. And he sat back down and carried on. And at the end, I was like, okay, and how was the experience? and he'd admitted to me that he'd done quite a few drugs in his time, and I've noticed that meditators who've done quite a lot of drugs will have these stress release meditations. I think even in the teaching manual it says there's lots of stuff about people who've done too much LSD because it was popularized in the 60s and they'd be flipping out on the floor, which I guess is related to this. But he described it that he was on this kind of roller coaster going down, I guess, through consciousness, and he reached the end. And when he reached the end, he just stood up. But he seemed to enjoy it. So I think it may be that, in those beginning phases of meditation, that's maybe a key time to have these different experiences. but the point is, we're not in control of our meditation experience, and it's kind of, I guess, a little bit dangerous to try and hold on to these. And I guess we're talking about this because it's an interesting question, but it is important to remember that, most meditations are unremarkable functional things, and we don't meditate for amazing experiences. We meditate to feel better generally, but it's also to show how powerful a tool this thing is that can just go open this door to this expanse of consciousness that we don't understand. Nobody understands it. Science doesn't understand it. But we have a way of exploring it.
Absolutely. That's a crazy story. I don't have, as a teacher, I don't have any crazy stand-up freak-out ones yet, but I will keep you posted.
Me neither.
I should get a seatbelt for that.
Strap
yourself in. Strap yourself in. You're going on a ride.
Oxygen masks may drop.